Shaya Krishna Keshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees to our today's Tuesday session program. Somehow or other, because of the festival which is coming up tomorrow, we do not have class in our regular place, Ahobilam Mutt. So we'll be having online. So thank you very much for all the devotees, in spite of busy with your regular routine activities, and also especially for tomorrow's festival, all of you made for the class. So for the last many months, in fact many weeks, continuously we were discussing from third canto, teachings of Lord Kapila section, discussing from each chapter theme wise, trying to study the various sadhanas such as karma, jnana, yoga, step by step, and ultimately culminating with bhakti. So in the last two classes, especially we discussed about the 9 stages of bhakti: Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhusanga Tata Vajana Kriyota Anartha Nivrutti Syad Nishta Ruchi Asakti Bhava Prema. And in the last class we talked about the 9 angas of bhakti, that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivadanam, etc. So in one sense, what is bhakti is all about, what we are supposed to do, what we are not supposed to do, how to perform bhakti, what is the purpose of practicing bhakti, what is the ultimate goal of the practice of bhakti, what were the goals of the practice of Nyana and Ashtanga yoga and of karma. In a way, we had briefly gave details about all these things. For more details, request all the devotees to read through third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam scrutinizingly, starting from chapter 25 to chapter 32. So we summarily briefly presented. So today, kind of we briefly go through the flow of these chapters in third canto Bhagavatam, and with that we'll be concluding our discussion on canto 3, and then eventually maybe next week or the week after that we will start with canto 4, the further details mentioned in the canto 4, etc. So today, kind of summary session about what was discussed till now in this part of third canto. 5 angas of avidya which actually bind us. That's how the third canto starts. In the beginning of the creation, in the beginning of the third canto, there is explanation about creation. The creation is all about 3 things: pradhana, avidya, and vidya. By pradhana, the Supreme Lord creates 24 elements, combining which our body is formed, combining which the entire world is formed. But living in that body, we are bound in this material world because of avidya. Because avidya has 5 components, they are called 5 layers of avidya, and these 5 layers of avidya will bind us in this material world, giving us a material identification, material enjoyment tendencies, etc. But the only way to come out of that bondage caused by avidya is taking shelter of vidya. So vidya contains karma, jnana, tapasya, vairagya, yoga, and bhakti. Taking shelter of any of these things, one will be slowly freed from the influence of this avidya and 3 modes of material nature, and slowly one will realize one's own true nature, that is the true nature of self. One realizes one is supposed to be serving the Supreme Lord, Jivera Swarupai Krishnera Nityadas. And by practicing bhakti, ultimately one will go back home, back to Godhead, and will continue to serve the Lord eternally for the rest of eternity. So that was the intention with which Bhagavatam talks about all these things, what we are supposed to do and all. And from starting from 4th canto onwards, how different devotees have performed this bhakti in the past. There are so many case studies of different devotees under different circumstances and how they practiced bhakti. So 3rd canto gives what to do, and 4th canto onwards all the way up to 10th canto, that will explain how to perform bhakti. looking at how different people in the past have practiced bhakti. In the fourth canto, we see that Daksha is an example of a person, example of a devotee, how not to perform bhakti. And Dhruva Maharaj, Prutu Maharaj, Prachetas are an example of how to practice bhakti. So like that, there are so many examples will come in the future of Bhagavatam. Fifth canto, we have examples of Bharat Maharaj, Nabi, Ambarish, not Ambarish, Rishabh Dev. So like that, they are examples how to practice bhakti. Sixth canto, there is an example of Chitraketu Maharaj. Even though being born as Asura, how to practice bhakti. So like that, so seventh canto, Prahlad Maharaj. Eighth canto, Bali Maharaj. Ninth canto, Ambarish Maharaj, Rantidev, Pandavas. 10th canto, the Vraja Gopis and Vrajavasis, not only Gopis, the Gopas, Gopis, elderly, younger, all different examples are mentioned, ultimately culminating with the Vrajavasis. So like that, what is mentioned in the third canto is about what to do, and the future cantos, fourth canto, 10th canto, gives us case studies or examples of how to do, so that we have little clarity. Okay, bhakti is not a utopian idea, not a some recent idea, not a new invention. It was there, it is there, it will be there. In the past, many people practicing bhakti have gone back to Godhead. In the present, also going back to Godhead. In the future, also will go back to Godhead. Bhakti is not a new creation. In order to convince us on this particular aspect, Srimad Bhagavatam talks about so many examples, so many people, so many wonderful devotees under so many different circumstances had practiced bhakti and have gone back to Godhead. So if we have faith on Shastra, by reading Bhagavatam, our faith should become firm faith, convinced. It should come to Nishta platform. Then our practice of bhakti is not at all a troublesome. It will be pleasure giving. So that is the intention of bhakti. So that is the intention of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here in this section, starting from chapter 25, we will briefly summarizing from chapter 25 to 33. We will briefly go through what was mentioned in each and every chapter. At the beginning of chapter 25, Mother Devahuti, one fine day, approaches his son and accepting her son as her spiritual master, she humbly puts forward some questions. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, accepting Lord Krishna, who was his close friend, dearmost friend, Arjuna, as his spiritual master, Arjuna accepting Lord Krishna as his spiritual master and submissively inquires. As a result of that, the whole Bhagavad Gita was revealed. Now, by the submissive inquiries of Mother Devahuti, the whole section called as Teachings of Lord Kapila, which is in one way repetition of Bhagavad Gita, is revealed. So Mother Devahuti approaching Lord Kapila says that, inquires that, my dear Lord, I surrender unto you the axe to cut the tree of material existence for your devotees. Swabhrutya samsara taro kutaram. She is addressing her own son saying that, so my dear Lord, as far as my understanding, you are the axe to cut the samsara of your devotees, your surrendered devotees. Therefore, I am surrendering unto you with a desire to know about the Jiva and Prakriti. The Jiva is bound in this material world. Prakriti is binding the Jiva in this material world. I want to know who is Jiva, what is Prakriti, how Prakriti binds Jiva, and how Jiva can come out of the clutches of Prakriti. With all these intentions, I am coming to you. I am surrendering unto you with a desire to know about Jiva and Prakriti, since you are the best among the knowers of Bhakti. Saddharma Vidam Varishtam. Because Bhakti is that process which will easily break the samsara for the living in it in this material world. And you are the best of the knowers about Bhakti. So where else I should go? Not required. That's why I have come to you. So this was the first inquiry with which Mother Devahuti approaches Lord Kapila. So for which in the 25th chapter, starting from verse number 12 to 27, Lord Kapila answers saying that Lord Kapila offers Adhyatmika Yoga as the solution to her problems, consisting of Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti. So Lord Kapila says that, so my dear mother, for a living entity to come out of the clutches of samsara, come out of the clutches of three modes of material nature, the solution is Adhyatmika Yoga. Yoga means the path, the practices one should practice, one should follow about the revelation of the true nature of Atma. Adhyatmika Yoga. Adhyatmika Yoga means that path practicing which one understands or one realizes the original form of Atma, the original nature of Atma, the constitutional position of Atma. Adi Atmika Yoga. That's how we can understand. Yoga Adhyatmika Pumsham Mato Nishreyasayame. That means, according to my opinion, this Adhyatmika Yoga will award one the most beneficial result. Atyantya uparatir yatra dukkasya cha sukhasya cha. Yoga concerning the Jivatma is approved as the most beneficial method for oneself. It has three types: Bhakti, Jnana and Ashtanga Yoga. This Adhyatmika Yoga process contains three processes: Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. Practicing any of these three, one can realize one's nature of Atma. One can realize the true nature of Atma. But among the three, Bhakti is best and Bhakti is the easiest. And Bhakti not only reveals the nature of Atman, Bhakti also reveals the nature of Bhagavan. And Bhakti enables one to serve the Bhagavan also. That is the glory of Bhakti. So being situated in this Adhyatmika Yoga, one outroots the material happiness and distress. So getting out of the samsara means getting out of the happiness and misery of the material world. One should be freed from both the things. So this is only possible by the practice of Bhakti. By the practice of Bhakti, one not only realizes one's constitutional position, one also develops Rati for the Supreme Lord. So development of Rati for Supreme Lord is only possible by the practice of Bhakti, not by Jnana, not by Yoga. Thus, pure Bhakti alone is recommended by Lord Kapila. So to practice, so that Mother Devahuti can go back, come back to Godhead and serve the Lord in pure love. But how to get that Bhakti? One can get Bhakti only from the association of devotees. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmano kavayo vidu saeva sadhushu kruto moksha dwaram apavrutam. Association with materialistic people is like the ajara pasham. It is a death noose, yamapash, with which one is dragged to the Yamaloka. And ajara pasham is association with materialistic people is the death noose which is kept around the neck, which can pull one out of the body anytime. But the same association, when it is done with the devotees, saeva sadhushu kruto moksha dwaram apavrutam. The doors to Vaikuntha will be opened. So that's why one will know about Bhakti, one will start beginning to practice Bhakti, and one will attain perfection of Bhakti only in the association of devotees. That's why association of devotees is very much important. That's why all of us should come together every Tuesday for our satsang program, and every Sunday to our temple program, and every festival for the special festivities. If you remember, in one of the classes we discussed about what is the speciality of the festival. On the festival days, we get to see many things. We get to see many devotees, first of all. We get the opportunity to serve the many devotees, and we get to see the Lord being bathed. Abhishek is performed on the festival days. That is one of the most important things one should attend. And we get to participate in Sankirtan. While Abhishek is going on, other side Sankirtan is going on. And we get to see wonderful dressing of the Lord, and most important than that is we get to see wonderful offerings unto Supreme Lord, because the mentality of the people outside world is all about let me enjoy more, let me enjoy more, let me enjoy more. But when we come to temple, especially on the festival days, when we see wonderful festivities, that Lord is being worshipped royally. That Lord is given wonderful bathing known as Abhishek. Lord is given wonderful dressing, the special outfits which are given for the festivals, and Lord is given special boga offerings. And by the way, this is a special invitation from temple to all the devotees. This Sunday we are celebrating the most awaited appearance day of Srimati Radharani, Radhashtami, and since it is Sunday, the temple authorities are deciding to celebrate the entire festival in the noon time only. That means around 10:30 or so, Abhishek will start. Before that, 8 o'clock darshan, followed by Guru Puja, followed by Bhagavatam class. Then around 10:30 to 11:30, there will be Abhishek. 11:30 to 12:30, there will be Boga offerings. Maybe time may be very little bit here and there. So this is one festival in Chowpati. All the devotees will prepare lot of Boga items at their respective home and bring to temple. In addition to Govardhan Puja, on Radhashtami, there will be thousands of offerings are made to their Lordship, Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. So this is a special request on behalf of temple to all the devotees from Chembur, that all of you can prepare so many Boga items and bring to the temple. Maybe time they will, the news will be, the invitation will be circulated. Maybe by 9:30, 10, all of you need to submit the bogas behind backup room, so that they will arrange properly and they'll offer at 11 o'clock or 11:30. So all the devotees are requested to come to temple with different variety of boga items. The whole intention is, when we see all these festivities, we should understand that we are not the enjoyers. We are simply here, the servants of the Supreme Lord. We are the instruments in the enjoyment of the Supreme Lord. By seeing again and again how Lord is being served royally, by hearing again and again that we are not the enjoyer, the Lord is the supreme enjoyer, we slowly come out of the self-centric enjoyment mentality. That is the intention. Hare Krishna, able to hear now? There is one message in the chat box, no audio.
We are able to hear it clearly, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So please accept that invitation and try to be part of the festival. So that is important. That is the important aspect of bhakti. Now in a couple of slides, we are going to see that why it is so important, how it plays a vital role in our daily practice of bhakti. So thus Lord Kapila mentioned that among the three, bhakti is easiest and the best, and only bhakti will award the understanding of the Bhagavan. It is only bhakti will develop rati for Bhagavan, not Jnana, not Ashtanga yoga. Hearing that, Mother Devavati again speaks to Lord Kapila, again inquires from Lord Kapila. So in verse 19, Lord Kapila mentioned bhakti is suitable for attaining the Lord. Because of hearing the excellence of such bhakti, she mentions this. Now she asks the next question. What is that? She says that, what kind of bhakti should I perform so that I can easily attain you? My dear Lord, please tell me, what kind of bhakti should I perform? Why she is asking? What is possible to know and do for a woman like me? She is specifically asking, okay, you are a great sadhu and there may be so many great sadhus outside. All of you might speak big things. All of you might do big things. But I am an ordinary innocent woman. What I can do, what I can understand, first of all, how to do, what to do, etc. And what I can actually do in my daily practices, by practicing which I can attain your lotus feet, the form of bliss, without obstacles and immediately, not after long practice. Kindly suggest that kind of bhakti which I can understand, which I can practice, which is easily practiced without much obstacles, and which awards me shelter at your lotus feet, not after a long time, but immediately. Please tell me about that kind of bhakti so that I can practice and I can get the result quickly. That was the first question. And then she also asked two more questions. Also explain the process of Jnana. How many limbs the Jnana have? Also explain the process of yoga. How many limbs the process of yoga have? So they are the three questions. So my dear Lord, you have told me to practice bhakti, because bhakti is easy to practice, and by bhakti only one will awaken rati for the Supreme Lord. Please tell me what kind of bhakti should I practice, and which is practical for me, which is easy for me, which is without obstacles, and practicing which I can attain your lotus feet very easily. By the way, please tell me about what is the process of yoga, what is the process of Jnana. So somebody might have a question, why does she asking about Jnana or yoga also? Because Lord Kapila already clearly mentioned, bhakti, you should practice bhakti, because bhakti only awards rati for the prema for the Supreme Lord. So why one need to make an endeavor to understand Jnana and yoga? Then she says that I should know and perform bhakti approved by you. However, it is said that the inquisitive person knows his own idea, and intelligent people know others' ideas as well. Thus, I should also inquire about yoga and Jnana. The general understanding is the inquisitive people know what they are supposed to do and they practice. They are satisfied with that. But while practicing in the future, there may be some problems in that process. That time one may get a doubt. I only learnt about bhakti, but bhakti has a lot of troubles and a lot of problems. I should have practiced about Jnana or yoga. That would have been very easy. That would have awarded me same goal. This is the common notion outside in the society. People say that जो भी करो सब कुछ अंत में वहीं पे जाएंगे. कर्म करो, ज्ञान करो, योग करो और भक्ति करो, जो भी करो सब कुछ वहीं पे जाएंगे. So like that the people outside they say, but it is not so. Karma has different results, Jnana has different results, yoga has different results, bhakti has different results. So one should know the practices are different, the respective goals are different. One should not be confused about it. So one should know much before only what is karma all about, what karma offers, what is karma meant for, what karma is meant for, what Jnana is all about, what Jnana is meant for, what Ashtanga yoga is all about, what Ashtanga yoga is meant for, what bhakti is all about, what bhakti is meant for. The process and the result, all these things should be clear in the beginning only. Then one should, based on one's determination, based on one's desire, one should select the proper path in order to attain the respective goal. If at all one want to go back, home back to God and serve the Supreme Lord, bhakti the only means. So that clarity should be there. So that's why it is said here that an inquisitive person tries to understand his own idea, but the intelligent person not to have the chance of getting that kind of doubt in the future that, okay, I should have known and practiced Jnana. Since I have started practicing bhakti, there are so many problems, so many troubles. It seems that I am not meant for bhakti, or this bhakti is not meant for me. Such kind of doubts will come at the end, later on. So in order to avoid such kind of doubts, one should also know about Jnana, one should also know about yoga, and also about karma in advance only. Thus, I should also inquire about Ashtanga yoga and Jnana yoga. So with that intention, Mother Devahuti inquired about the process of yoga is aimed like an arrow at the Lord. It is for producing liberation. Bhakti is for producing rati for the Supreme Lord. Ashtanga yoga is meant for producing Sayujya Mukti. Similarly, Jnana is also meant for understanding the knowledge of 28 elements and also producing Sayujya Mukti. Bhakti takes one to Vaikuntha and provides one the opportunity to serve the Supreme Lord in person for the rest of eternity. Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga takes one to impersonal Brahmajyoti and gives one Brahmananda for the rest of eternity. As long as one want to stay there without any seva opportunity in impersonal Brahmajyoti, in Brahman. These are the goals of Bhakti, Jnana and Yoga. So one should decide in the beginning only what one want. Accordingly, one should continue to practice. Even Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana alone, that does not award one impersonal liberation. They need to practice Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga along with Bhakti. Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga at the most can give the realization of the self. It is only Bhakti gives the realization of Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan and also the respective destination. So that understanding should be there at the beginning. Then one should begin the process. So now, having heard the 3 questions from Mother Devotee, Lord Kapila answers these 3 questions in chapter 25, chapter 26. The first question is answered in the first chapter 25. Second question is answered in the chapter 26 and 27. And third question is answered in the chapter 28. Like the 3 chapters, 1, 2, 3, 4 chapters are dedicated to answer the 3 questions. So in the later part of the 25th chapter, starting from 32 to 43, in these verses, Lord Kapila answers, what kind of bhakti should I perform to easily attain you? Lord Kapila says, you should practice pure devotional service. Uttama Bhakti. I recommend Uttama Bhakti which has the characteristics of Annabhilashita Shunyam. Such a bhakti performed at the stage of Bhava is better than liberation. It's because in the beginning it is mentioned that Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga offers liberation, that is Sahajya Mukti. So practice of bhakti itself is better than liberation. Then what to speak of the results of bhakti? Practice the happiness one experiences while practicing bhakti at the level of bhava and prema is much better than the happiness one experiences after entering into Brahmajyoti. Then what to speak of the happiness that one gets having entered into Vaikuntha? So that clarity is given here. Such a bhakti quickly destroys the subtle body like digestive fire. So this is the definition of third bhakti which Lord Kapila offers to Mother Devahuti. Devanam gunalinganam anushravika karmanam sattva evaika manaso vritti swabhaviki tuya animitta bhagavati bhaktir siddhe gariyasi jarayati ashuya kosham nigirnam analoyata. So this bhakti is similar to the bhakti definition given in Bhakti Rasam Sindhu or Nectar of Devotion. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavurtam anukulyena krishnanuchilanam bhakti ruttamam. Bhakti means bhakti generally should not be performed for the fulfillment of so-called material desires. Anya abhilashita shunyam. The material desires almost should be shunya, 0. And that bhakti should not be covered by jnana and karma. Jnana karmadi anavrutam. Karma is practiced to go to Swarga and get Swarga opulences. Jnana is practiced to go to impersonal Brahmajyoti to get Brahmananda. So that Uttama Bhakti should not be covered by the desires of karma and jnana. Anukulyena, it should be performed with favorable attitude toward the Supreme Lord. And unto whom? Krishna Anushilanam. It should be performed continuously. Anushilanam. Unto whom? Lord Krishna and his other expansions. Lord Krishna of Vrindavan, Lord Krishna of Dwaraka, of Madura, Lord Rama of Ayodhya, Lord Narasimha, and Lord Matsya, Lord Kurma, all other Vishnu avatars. Bhakti is meant to serve them. So that was the definition of this Uttama Bhakti. So Lord Kapila describes Bhakti beyond the gunas, the process suitable to the Lord, preferred by the Lord. Such a Bhakti quickly destroys the subtle body like digestive fire consumes food. It is because of our subtle body, we are moving from one gross body to other gross body. Just like in the childhood, our body is very tender. In the youth, our body becomes attractive. In the adulthood, our body becomes strong and stout. In the old age, our body becomes weak and dwindling. After death, our body becomes ash or dust. So within our lifespan only, our body keeps on changing. Then after death, we will enter into some other body again changing. So like that. But subtle body remains same. Throughout our journey in the material world, subtle body remains same. Gross bodies keep changing, but subtle body does not change. But by the practice of bhakti, the subtle body quickly destroys. And one will get the transcendental spiritual body and one will go back, come back to Godhead. So here the definition given here is, within our body, we are endowed with 14 senses, 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, and 4 antakaranas. All these senses are meant to do many different activities. The hearing is meant for, the ears are meant for hearing different sounds so that we can understand what is what in this material world. The skin is meant for touching so that we can feel different sensations of the things around us. The eyes are meant for seeing so that we can visualize the entire world in front of us. The tongue is meant for tasting so that we can taste, we can eat and drink different variety of foodstuffs. The nostril is meant for smelling so that we can smell different variety of odors and fragrances. The mouth is meant for speech so that we can express what is there within our heart to people in general. The hands and also mouth is meant for eating and drinking also. Okay. Hands are meant for performing various activities so that we can give something to others, we can accept something from others, we can perform various variety of activities, our daily livelihood occupations. The legs are meant for movement so that we can walk from one place to other place so that we can work for our livelihood. And genitals are meant for procreation by which we can beget children. Anus is meant for evacuation so that we can excrete the waste products within our body. And our mind is meant for expressing our desires. That is Sankalpa and Vikalpa. Sankalpa means the general desires. Vikalpa means some special desires. Basically, the mind always proposes, okay, get this, get that, get this, take that. So something like that, want to experience something new and new. Intelligence is to make plans. Nishaya and Samshaya. The intelligence, the main role of intelligence is discrimination. What is what? Nishaya means ascertaining something right. Samshaya means ascertaining something wrong. So clear-cut understanding of what is what in this material world. That is the function of intelligence. And false ego gives us an identity. As long as we are in the human body, we get the identity of human being. And in that human being identity also, there are so many identities. In the childhood, we say we are child, we are school-going children. Afterwards, we get into teenage. We say we are youth. Now, after marriage, we become adult and we become husband, wife, mother, father, and general manager, CEO, this, that, so many designations we keep getting. The later on grandfather, like that. All these things. They are all the functions of ego. And finally, consciousness. The function of consciousness, it makes us aware that we are living, astitva. And also, the function of buddhi is to give us the understanding about the material world. The function of consciousness is to give us the understanding about the spiritual world, understanding about the Atma, Paramatma, Bhagavan, etc. etc. So these are the activities that are performed by the 14 senses that are there in our body. So we use these 14 senses for performing so many material activities. Bhakti means using the same 14 senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. That is called Bhakti. Devanam Gunalingana Manushravika Karmanam Vritti Swabhavikitusya Sattvam Evaika Manasu Vritti Swabhavikituya Animitta Bhagavati Bhaktir Siddher Garitiyadisi. Bhakti means engaging these 14 senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. How? Like Maharaj Ambarish. Like the way Ambarish Maharaj engaged all the senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. It is said that Savai Manakrishna Padara Vindayor. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind and consciousness in meditating upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Savai Manakrishna Padara Vindayor. always the mind and consciousness are engaged in the meditation on Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Vashamchi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. His words are engaged in describing the glories of the Lord. Vashamchi Vaikunta Guna Anuvarnane. Not once in a while. Anuvarnane means continuous glorification of the Supreme Lord, morning to night, night to morning, like that, continuously describing the glories of Lord Vaikunta. And then Karau Harer Marandira Marjanadishu. His hands are engaged continuously in cleaning the Lord's temple, either in the temple or making our own home at the temple and keeping our own home neat and tied, cleanly, and every day decorating deity, the altar and deities, etc. etc. The hand should be engaged in that. And Shrutim Chakara Achyuta Sat Katodaye. His ears are engaged in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. That means the word spoken by Krishna is Bhagavad Gita. The word spoken about Krishna is Bhagavatam. The ears always engaged, should be engaged to hear about Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. And Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drushau. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Madura and Vrindavan. Mukunda Linga Alaya Darshane means, Mukunda Linga means various deity forms, Mukunda Alaya means various temples and also various holy places. The eyes should be engaged in seeing the deity form, seeing the temples, seeing the holy places, not seeing the scenic places of this world. And then Tadbrutya Gatra Sparshenga Sangamam. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. So whenever some devotees meet, they immediately embrace each other. So that is the expression of affection, expression of love and affection. So this is what Maharaj Ambarish was doing regularly. And then Granam cha tatpada saroja saurabe. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his sense of smell, Granam, in smelling the fragrance of Tulsi offered to the Lord. The Tulsi is offered every day at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and also it is made into a garland offered on the neck of the Supreme Lord. And after coming out of the altar, one should smell the fragrance of those Tulsi. So not only the Tulsi, any flower garland also in that sense, one should smell that is offered to the Supreme Lord. And Srimat Tulasya Rasanam Tadarpite. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasada accompanied by Tulsi. So in the purport it is mentioned that Ambarish Maharaj would only accept that food items which are prepared for the purpose of offering to Supreme Lord and offered to Supreme Lord accompanied with Tulsi. Srimat Tulasya Rasanam Tadarpite. So whatever food stuff which is offered to Supreme Lord, that only would accept along with Tulsi. And then Padav Harer Kshetra Padanu Sarpane. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord. So he would use his legs to go to temples. He would not walk. He would actually run. Anu Sarpane, like a sarpa, like a snake would walk very fastly. And then Shiro Rishikesha Padabi Vandane. His head, his identity in bowing down before the Lord. He would engage his head or his identity in bowing down before the Supreme Lord in the temple, in holy places, etc. And Kamam Chadase Natu Kama Kamaya. And all his desires, his intelligence and consciousness, which make so many plans to attain something, to get something, in serving the Supreme Lord, like a das, like a servant. And then Yaduttama Shloka Janashayati, without desiring any material enjoyment. His only desire is to serve the Lord, not get any material enjoyment. For what purpose is Ambarish Maharaj doing all these things? Only for the purpose of getting Rati, Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti, as possessed by great devotees of the past. The love and affection that the great devotees of the past had for the Supreme Lord with a desire to get that Ambarish Maharaj is doing all these things. Following in the footsteps of Ambarish Maharaj, if we perform all these things, we will also get all these things. So like that, Lord Kapila offers Uttama Bhakti, one should practice unto Mother Devahuti. And then the next question was, explain about the process of Jnana. So Jnana is meant for getting freedom from modes, getting for self-realization, and cutting the knot of attachment to the material world. These are the intentions with which one should understand and practice Jnana. Freedom from the influence of three modes, the knowledge of self-realization, and for cutting the knot of attachment to this material world. Prakriti, the cause of Jiva's actions, and the Lord is the cause of the Lord's, cause of the results of his actions. So one understands that the material nature is the cause of the Jiva's various activities, because material nature facilitates the performance of various activities, and the Supreme Lord sanctions the results. So Lord Kapila described the characteristics of the Prakriti. So what is this Prakriti? Prakriti is the cause of Jiva's actions. What is Prakriti? Prakriti is made up of 24 elements and Pradhana. And who is that Supreme Lord offered the results? Who is the Purusha? Purusha indicates Kala, Jiva, and Paramatma. So Lord Kapila talks about the information about 24 elements, 25th Pradhana, 26th Kala, 27th Jiva, 28th Paramatma. So the knowledge about all these 28 elements is presented in this section. So what is the benefits of hearing this Sankhya? One gets the freedom from modes, self-realization, cutting the knot of attachment. So what is the goal with which one should study and practice this Jnana or Sankhya Yoga? The ultimate goal is to understand out of the 28 elements, Paramatma is the most important person. The most important item is Paramatma. So understanding the superior position of Paramatma and to contemplate on the Supreme Lord with Hayatuki Bhakti is the purpose of understanding and practicing Sankhya or Jnana. So there was a question in the chat box. It said that in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada talks about the two kinds of Kapilas. So what is the distinction between those two? Lord Kapila, who is one of the expansions of the Supreme Lord, is talking about the Sankhya Yoga, which talks about these 28 elements, 24 material elements, Pradhana, Kala, Jiva, and Paramatma. The atheistic Kapila only talks about 24 elements and Pradhana and Jiva. The 26 elements only. They don't have the discussion about Paramatma. Of course, Kala might be spoken about, but there is no discussion about Paramatma in the atheistic Sankhya. Atheistic Sankhya does not give any regards to the Supreme Lord. They only talk, ultimate goal of practicing Sankhya Yoga is to realize that you are all in all. You are everything. Soham Asmi. That's how it is called as atheistic Sankhya. But Lord Kapila talks about Bhagavan. The purpose of practicing Sankhya is to realize what the nature of Jivatma, what Jivatma is not all about. And ultimately, one should practice Bhakti and surrender to Paramatma. That is a distinction. So that is mentioned at the end of this section. One should ascertain and then contemplate the Supreme Lord within the body by unmotivated Bhakti and Jnana using the intelligence motivated by Bhakti. So like that. Ultimately, the purpose of studying and practicing is to contemplate the Supreme Lord continuously with the help of our body by unmotivated Bhakti and Jnana. So that is the intention with which this knowledge is spoken. So chapter 26 and chapter 27, these two chapters talk about the process of Sankhya. So then the third question was, please explain the process of yoga and how many limbs do that have. Chapter 28 talks about the process of Ashtanga Yoga. So why to practice Ashtanga Yoga? To cease troublesome material life, practice gradual control of the materially attached mind through Bhakti or Yoga plus Virakti. Then practice Ashtanga Yoga with faith. Have faith that the Lord's form is real. And here Krishna Katha. The Ashtanga Yoga should be practiced with the firm faith that Lord's form is real and entry into Brahman or Vaikuntha is actually real. And one should practice Ashtanga Yoga while continuously hearing Krishna Katha, continuously meditating on the form of the Supreme Lord. Ashtanga Yoga, we discussed one class elaborately. Meditating on the full form of the Supreme Lord initially, then limb by limb, gradual meditation on the form of the Supreme Lord. That will award one Sahajya Mukti. Even the Ashtanga Yogis by good fortune can also get Sarishti or Salokya Mukti also if they want. By the process of intense bhakti with Ashtanga Yoga, Prakriti cannot touch that kind of practitioner. Such a person or such a Ashtanga Yogi, after many lifetimes of practice of Ashtanga Yoga along with bhakti, achieves liberation. So this is mentioned in chapter 27 and chapter 28. Because of the bewildering forms of Prakriti, that means as long as we live in this material world, the Prakriti will offer us different forms. Sometimes as a human form, sometimes as an animal form, sometimes as a Devata form. As long as we are living in this body, we are bewildered. Anyone asks, we say that I am so and so, this, I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. We are very much proud of our identity currently. These are all the bewildering forms offered by Prakriti. But by the practice of Ashtanga Yoga along with Bhakti, one becomes freed from the bewilderment of Prakriti. After conquering self-supporting Prakriti, composed of cause and effect, which is difficult to conquer, one should be situated in one's uncovered form of consciousness. Swarupena avasthite. Ultimately, by the practice of Ashtanga Yoga along with Bhakti, one should conquer the unconquerable Bhakti and eventually situate in one's own constitutional position. That is the purpose of practicing Ashtanga Yoga. So it is like that. So then, having heard about Sankhya, that means Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, as the intelligent would do, and also having heard about what kind of practice you should practice so that she can easily attain the lotus feet of Lord Kapila, having heard all these things, then she asks few more questions. Having heard about Sankhya and Ashtanga Yoga, Devahuti again desires to know about Bhakti with its different types, since she should perform that process, though she already heard about it. Thus she inquires. So my dear Lord, since now she has to practice Bhakti, she wants to know more details about Bhakti. What are the different types of Bhakti? What are the different categories of Bhakti? So among them, which type of Bhakti she should practice? With that intention, she is asking next inquiry. Please tell me in detail about the path of Bhakti, which is the root cause of the knowledge of Sankhya and Ashtanga Yoga. So why she is asking this question? My dear Lord, you have described the characteristics of the 28 elements such as Mahatattva, other thing, and Jiva, Prakriti, Ishvara, Kala, Karma, etc., by which their very natures in different divisions are known. Now you should tell me about Bhakti, the root cause of the knowledge of all those 28 elements, without which they cannot be known. So just like that, Jnana has 28 divisions, Ashtanga Yoga has 8 divisions. Are there any divisions in Bhakti? If they are, please tell me different divisions of Bhakti, and especially among them, which kind of Bhakti I should practice. That clarity you should give me. So with that intention, she is asking about the details about the path of Bhakti. And then she also asks that, please describe about the samsara of the living entities, hearing about which a person becomes completely detached from the material world. To begin Bhakti, why she is asking this question? She is saying that to begin Bhakti, one needs a little detachment. Thus, Mother Devahuti asks about the detachment. Please tell me about samsara. By use explanations, one becomes detached to material world. By understanding the troubles in this material world, slowly one withdraws from the material world, one withdraws from the materialistic lifestyle, and one becomes attracted and attached to the practice of Bhakti. One becomes serious and sincere in the practice of Bhakti and to go back home back to Godhead. So with that intention, she asked about the samsara, how living entities are living in this material world, to speak about samsara of the jivas. And finally, she also asked about, please describe about the nature of time in whose sphere people perform activities. So like that. Please describe about the nature of time in whose sphere people perform auspicious activities, so that they are not bound in this material world. Why she is asking this question? Also explain about time, which is one of your forms. By fear of time, people perform auspicious activities. They are not deviated from pious activities or auspicious activities and not perform sinful activities. So with that intention, she asks all these questions. Why she is asking all these questions unto Lord Kapila only? Because she is telling that, my dear Lord, you have come as the sun for those who are suffering due to false identity. False identity is compared to the darkness. As long as we are with false identity, that we are the true identity is Jivera Sarupai Krishna Anitadas. Other than that, any other identity is the false identity. That is like the suffering in the darkness. The true knowledge about bhakti is like the brightness which comes by the rising of the sun. So now, just like every day morning sun comes up in the origin in order to destroy the darkness and give us the light, similarly you have appeared to destroy our darkness of misidentification and give us the knowledge of bhakti, give us the brightness of bhakti. Because of the false entity, we are actually blind and we are sleeping in the samsara. And for those who are exhausted due to material attachment. So with that intention, Mother Devoti making all these inquiries unto Lord Kapila. So then, as an answer to all these questions, Lord Kapila answers one after the other. So in order to answer the details of bhakti, Lord Kapila describes various classes of bhakti. Bhakti in 3 modes and bhakti beyond 3 modes. The various angas of bhakti, various impediments that can come in the process of bhakti. The most important impediment in the process of bhakti is disrespecting other living entities or envying the progress of other living entities. These two are the biggest impediments in the path of bhakti. And also the solution for these impediments is respect all the jivas according to the gradation. Lord Kapila talks about all these things in chapter 29. So specifically, he talks about the 4 classes of bhakti. Bhakti in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of passion, in the mode of goodness, and the mode of pure goodness. So this verse talks about bhakti in the mode of ignorance. Especially the people in the mode of ignorance also practice bhakti. For what purpose? The angry person, devoid of compassion, who worships me with intentions of violence, pride, and hatred is called tamasic in bhakti, in his bhakti. The people who are angry by nature, who have no compassion, and they practice bhakti with the intentions of violence, causing trouble to somebody else, with the intention of pride, just to boast themselves that they are devotees, and with the intention of hatred, expressing their hatred to others. Such kind of people's bhakti is called as bhakti in the mode of ignorance. And then those who worship me in the forms of deities and others with a desire for other objects, not for serving me, but only getting some material benefits, and with the goals of material gain, and with the intention of getting name, fame, or wealth, they practice bhakti in the mode of passion. Those people who come to me and do practice bhakti only for the purpose of fulfilling their other so-called material desires, for getting some wealth and for getting some name, fame, prestige, etc., is called tamasic bhakti. And those people who practice bhakti, who worship me with a desire to destroy their karma, making his works as an offering unto the Supreme Lord, or executing the worship as a duty. So basically, in order to destroy one's karma, all whatever sinful activities one has done in order to destroy them, one practices bhakti, or practices bhakti, performing different activities and offering all the results unto Supreme Lord, or executes bhakti as a matter of duty, or executes bhakti with a purpose of getting liberation. Their bhakti is called as Sattva Bhakti, Sattva Bhakti. In order to destroy their karmas, they perform all the activities and offer all the results unto Supreme Lord, and with a desire to, with an intention to perform bhakti as a matter of duty, and with a desire to get liberation, is called bhakti in the mode of goodness. So these are the different varieties of bhakti. But Lord Kapila says that, my dear mother, but you should practice Uttama Bhakti. What is the Uttama Bhakti? What is the nature of Uttama Bhakti? The nature of Uttama Bhakti is only because the mind, by hearing about my qualities, flows continuously unto me, the Supreme Lord residing in the hearts of all people, just as Ganga flows to the ocean. Mat guna shruti matrena mayi sarva guhashaye manogatir avichinna yata gangam basom budau. Just like Ganga flows towards the ocean, similarly, the bhakti consisting of Shravanam Kirtanam is only meant for the mind constantly attracted to the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not for getting name, fame, prestige in this material world, not for getting liberation from this material world, not for getting material gains in this world. It is only continuously getting attracted to serve the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya hi Udavrutam Ahetuki Aviveta Ya Bhakti Purushottame. What are the qualities of this bhakti? Ahetuki, no other material motive. Avyavehita, not disturbed by the material impediments. And that bhakti should be unto Purushottama. That bhakti is called Nirguna Bhakti. And then he further continues that Salokya Sarishti Samipya Sarupya Aikatvam Aviuta Diyamanam Na Grananti Vina Massevanameta. Even being pleased with them, if I at all offer them Salokya Mukti, Sarishti Mukti, Samipya Mukti, Sarupya Mukti, or Saijya Mukti, but these devotees never accept any of these things. If these liberations are offered without seva, Vina Massevanam. If such kind of 5 liberations are offered without service opportunity unto my lotus feet, these devotees will never accept any of these 5 liberations. They are only interested in serving the Supreme Lord, not in the opulences offered in Vaikuntha. They only want service to Supreme Lord, whether in the Bhuloka or in the Vaikuntha Loka. That is the nature of the devotees beyond 3 modes. Finally, Sayeva Bhakti Yogakya Atyantika Udarta Yenati Vraja Trigunam Matbhavaya Upapadyate. The purpose of practicing this bhakti is ultimately they want to surpass 3 gunas and they want to attain same nature as that of mine and want to serve me for the rest of eternity. So this is the ultimate form of bhakti that Lord Kapila recommends Mother Devotee to practice. That with a desire to go back home back to spiritual world, one should practice that bhakti. Then finally, at the culmination of his teachings, at the end of chapter 29, Lord Kapila says that the true nature of time, out of fear of which one practices auspicious activities, is time holds no one dear, time hates no one, and it is friendly to no one. Time always awake, and it brings death to everyone. It destroys all the living entities, and it destroys the living entities who are unaware of its existence. These are the different qualities of time. And finally, unchangeable time without beginning, but causes everyone's birth. Time has no beginning, but time gives us birth, which is our beginning. Time has no end, but it creates our end in the form of death. This is the nature of time. So then, in the last 3 chapters, chapter 30, 31, 32, Lord Kapila talks about samsara, hearing which one becomes detached from this material world. The living entities in the mode of ignorance how do they become grossly attached to this material world and goes through repeated cycle of birth and death and bound in this material world. They are mistreated, they take to the irreligious habits, etc. But hearing which now they can become slowly detached from the material world, and then they come to mode of passion. There they go through the competitive mentality among different people. They are only interested in the happiness that is coming from the opposite sex, but still that offers so many difficulties in the long run. Understanding that, person comes into mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one understands that one need to practice scriptures. Practicing scriptures, scriptural rules and regulations. Scriptures say that by performing these rituals, you can go to Chandraloka or Sargaloka and enjoy more and more and come back. One does that and ultimately understand that this also offers temporary results. Then following the deeper instructions of the Vedic literature, then one practices Nishkama Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, so that one gets longer happiness in impersonal Brahman. That also one is not satisfied. Ultimately, Lord Kapila says that the superior most enjoyment one can get is by going back home back to Godhead and continue to serve the Supreme Lord for the rest of eternity. That understanding is possible going to mode of goodness and going beyond mode of goodness. So like that, Lord Kapila talks about everything that is supposed to be known for us while living in this material world. With that understanding, we are clear about what to do and what not to do, and by doing what we are going to get. Everything is crystal clearly mentioned. So this is the sum and substance of the teachings of Lord Kapila. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for a wonderful class, Prabhuji.
Very nice.
Thank you. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
So I think before we start with the Kirtan, there are some important announcement which I'll make first, and then we'll go for Kirtan. Is
Yes,
it okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, whatever is it.
Yeah. So the announcement is like that we'll be celebrating our Janmashtami, much awaited Janmashtami, on 13th of September. That is on Tuesday. Earlier it was being planned to perform on 11th, but the hall was not available and there were too many practical difficulties. So ultimately it has been decided to celebrate it on 13th. That is Tuesday only, our regular day.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah,
Correct.
next week.
And the details will
Yeah.
be.
And His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu, His Grace Pawneshwar Prabhu, and His Grace Nimai Chand Prabhu, all of them, they agreed to be there. So that will be a wonderful celebration. And so all of you are invited, cordially invited to come with your family and friends,
family.
everyone, please.
And the details
Yeah.
will forward.
And the other details, a lot of sevas are also available. So we definitely need some volunteers and all. So all those details will be forwarded on the group, on the WhatsApp. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Very good.
Thank you very much. So nice, Prabhuji. Very nice lecture, Prabhuji. Wonderful. Thank you.
Extending Prabhuji's invitation, I also personally invite all the devotees this Sunday for Radhashtami to Sri Radha Gopinath Mandir, and on 13th September to Ahobilam Math. Please come with all your family members. Regularly you come, but this time, these two festivals, you should bring all your family members, give them experience of what Krishnashtami is all about, what Krishna consciousness is all about. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very nice. So please attend in large number. 1 minute. Mohan Joshi Prabhuji has
Mohan Joshi
said-
Prabhu has written something. We do not have range in the hall. We can share recording.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So shall we request His Grace Rishabhanu Prabhu